What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ordinary Guy Show. I've got a special guest, Scuba Steve Walters. What's up, Steve?
What's going on?
So for people who don't know Steve, this is going to be fun because Steve is probably one of the only people... Steve is probably one of the only people that I think is probably capable of saying worse than I am on a show. Period. Or on camera.
Yeah, I'm not even, yeah, exactly.
Or in public. Or at a funeral.
Depends on who's, you
know. Dude, it's hard just jumping into this with you because, I mean, dude, we go back, man.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that earlier when you were talking about coming in. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers to you, to being... You know, I use the term like one of my oldest friends, I get like longest friends. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there's very few people that I think I've really been friends with consecutively for that long. I mean, shit. I met you within days of meeting Janet.
Yeah. So when we were talking about, you know, doing this, like I actually like sat back, was like, how long have I actually known Frank? I was like,
fucking forever.
I joined the Army in 2011, so it had to be before then.
Well, yeah, because my daughter was born in 2010, and I met you right after Janet.
Oh my god!
So I met you in 2008, most likely.
Most likely. It would have had to been.
No, because Janet and I started dating in February of 2009.
Okay.
So probably like
2009,
right around then. Because I remember one of the first things that Janet and I did together was make a baby.
Bro, your man shower, that was one of the, like, I tried to emulate that with mine. I was like, yo, like, so Mel, like, she had her baby shower with like her mom and her family. I was like,
like the regular girl baby shower.
Like, you go up there.
No.
I'm going to do something here. And I was like, yo, I'm going to barbecue. I got beer. I'm like, just bring either diapers or wipes. And then let's just go, you know.
Yeah, we'll go from there.
Balls out, bro.
Yeah. The question is, though, did you try to go tandem on an empty keg down a water slide?
No, we did not try to do that. No. We didn't even know.
We ran down that water slide side by side holding a keg.
That we just kicked.
Yeah, we just kicked. We hit the ground and bounced.
Yeah.
We didn't slide.
It hurt.
We bounced.
It hurt.
Off of a keg. We bounced off of a keg.
We're so dumb. We're so like...
I think about that all the time. Do you know that party still comes up?
Yeah.
Like all the time. All the time. People... So there's a couple people that we ran into last week, and one of them was, I was like, gosh, I freaking know you from like the old days, like one of those like friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, I was at that man shower thing that you guys had. I'm like, I gotcha.
So the like one of the craziest things about coming back like here home is I'll meet people that are brand new to me.
Right.
And they're like, yo, you're Scuba Steve? I was like, I don't even know this guy. And he's like, I'm like, oh, yeah.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, I'm like, oh.
So, like, did you actually know them and meet them, or they were just, like, a friend of a friend?
So, like, you know, they would be, you know, it's generally, like, a Chalkies crowd, right? So, like, it'd be somebody at Chalkies who, like, were playing pool with, you know, one of the guys, and they, you know, would be telling a story that involved me.
Yeah.
And, like, so
there's a lot of them, though.
So, finally, they meet me, like, yo, I've heard so many stories about you. I'm like...
Dude,
oh my god!
I've told this story on the podcast. All right. Do you remember at the old Chalkies when your beer kept disappearing?
Yeah.
So I tried to.
I remember, like, I had to put it on like the far wall. And, like, I felt like you crawled under.
So, like, people who are fans of the show know I've done it before. It's my only super talent. I can make a beer disappear quicker than anything. I promise you, it's one of the quickest you'll see. It hurts me. Like it legitimately hurts me to drink it that fast. But Scuba Steve, by the way. So Scuba puts his beer down and he goes to shoot pool. He turns around, his beer's gone. We blamed it on somebody who wasn't at the table anymore, so Steve gets mad. He orders another beer. Turns around, it's gone again. So he's really pissed off, right? And when Steve's pissed, especially if Steve's been drinking a little bit and he's pissed and maybe not shooting pool so well, it's like
it was a tournament. We're playing for money. These guys are stealing my beer.
So he takes his beer and he puts it all the way around the corner on this ledge that's like 4 feet high. Like you can only see somebody's head when they walk past. So I army crawl around the bar. I reached up, I drink his beer, and I put it back, and I run back as fast as I can. And I just remember you yelling and screaming, and everybody thought we were getting kicked out again. So you've been the sole reason why teams have gotten kicked out of tournaments before.
Well, yeah, I mean, some people don't find what I find to be funny. You know, like I was telling Mel the other day, I'm like, it doesn't matter what like I'm doing. Like you could put me in any crowd anywhere, I'm gonna have fun. Like I'm gonna find a way. Be like, all right, some people may not find what I find.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today, and the only thing I could really think of was that you get loud, but then you curse. You know what I mean? So it's weird because you can quietly curse, and people find it funny. People don't like the loud curse.
Well, there's generally some something antagonizing me, right? Like
yeah.
Somebody stealing my beer.
Yeah.
Or, somebody.
But see, that's the problem is the reason why you get in, you don't even get in trouble, but the reason why you get in trouble a lot is because your friends are pissing you off. So there are very few people in this world that I actually enjoy poking.
Yeah, well,
it's so much fun.
Well, I also enjoy poking as well. I at that bar.
Oh yeah.
I knew that if I'm a little loud,
who gives a shit?
If I jump a ball, which is a legal move.
Yeah.
And I don't care that bar has a no jumping policy. We're playing pool. This is for this has a record, right? Like if we win this, we get other things. We go to Vegas, cash,
which we've done.
Yeah, right. So I know how to jump a ball. I know you're no three knows how to jump a ball. Yeah. Hi, I'm a 3 that hangs out with a 7. So he taught me how to jump a ball.
Right.
Okay. It's not a good jump. It works maybe 50% of the time.
Trust me, that 7 taught you enough to be an 8, but you only retained enough to stay at 3. You were a 5 for a hot minute.
That didn't last long.
No, you and Jess. Remember, you Jess jumped up to 5s
So we got to Vegas and we could barely field.
Yep.
It was like crunch. We're like, oh my god.
I got to play in Vegas as a 2. I did.
I got beat by a 2 in Vegas.
It sucks,
Bro,
doesn't it?
There are some killer 2s.
There really are.
Some killer 2s.
Do you know that most killer 2s look like a pat?
I lost to a pat. It was a pat.
Oh, very questionable. You're like, I wonder if you do anything in life besides make people question your gender. But, dude, oh man, we can go back forever, which is why I think this is fun. Also, how's that whiskey?
Very good. That is very good. We were talking before this. I don't have that extensive knowledge in whiskey, but I'm not a noob.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's extremely good.
So most people,
what's that called?
This is the Juke Joint. So this is Blue Note Juke Joint. This is from that Rick House. Remember I told you the Rick House collapsed, and they basically bought these barrels.
Like, whatever. Here you you.
Yeah, these people have no clue what's in these barrels, so they aged them for an additional 2 or 4 years just so that they knew that they were aged at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they basically just branded it as theirs, and it's a limited quantity, obviously. I saw the barrel that this came in, and the metal strap was like all rusted. The same aged barrel was next to it, and it was like the white oak, where it still looks like nice charred white oak.
Yeah.
Dude, this was like, you could tell it was like soaked. You know, from the elements, you could tell that the sun hit it. It got wet. The sun hit it and dried it out.
Oh wow!
Oh, dude, it was that like aged gray. Yeah. And as you sip it and look at that barrel, you're like, all right, I got you. I see what's going on here. But for being almost 118 proof, that's not bad.
This is very good. It's very smooth.
You would think it would be harsh.
Dangerously smooth.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll have 2 of them at night, like 2 of these, and I'm like, ooh, hey,
it's time for bed.
yeah, like, what's going on here? But, dude, you said before, you know, when you come back, so you know, people who don't know you, and dude, even I have a bunch of questions, man, because here I am trying to have, you know, I got a 1-year-old. When did you join? In 2011?
2011, November 20th.
Okay, so my daughter was, you know, 1.5 at the time. I mean, so we weren't hanging out as much as we would have before because we got a baby. I'm sitting here trying to start a job and be responsible, and then all of a sudden, Steve's going off to the Army. So, dude, what happened? Because that's not, most people go right out of school. Like, as in, like, right out of high school, and then they get an education in the service, and then they come back. So, I mean, that's kind of late to be going, right?
I was 25 when I joined.
I mean, that's pretty late, no? What's the average age?
So, the average age of my basic training was a little skewed.
Okay.
So, I would say that the average age was somewhere between 18 and 20. There weren't many people that were... There were a couple that were 21. Like probably. So I went, Jesus Christ, how many people did I go to basic with? Let's just say four platoons of 60.
Okay.
So
all at the same time in basic?
Wait, wasn't? No, it couldn't have been that. Maybe 4 platoons of 30, so 120 people.
Okay.
Like, so out of 120 people, 80 were between 18 and 20.
Jeez.
And then there were probably another 10. Probably 90. 120? No, I'm horrible at math. The bulk, right? Were 18 to
How many
20,
would you say
100.
were older than you?
Not very many. 2. One was 40. That's why I would say like the average age.
Okay, that is kind of skewed, right?
Is very skewed.
How common is it to have a 40-year-old in basics? Probably
not very.
Not very, right?
Not very.
Did you know him? Like why he was there? What was going on?
It was a she.
She? Sorry, I assumed.
Yeah. So, that's actually part of. I went to a co-ed basic, so it was at Fort Sill, and this 40-year-old female had I think she had a master's degree in psychology.
Okay.
And so the federal government has a program that if you do 10 years of service, it'll erase your college debt.
Okay.
Or it'll pay off X amount of dollars, right? So she was going for that. She was going to do the 10 years and to get the...
Assuming with her education, she'd probably have a role, not necessarily just jumping on the front line.
I think... I have no idea what this person's plan was, but my guess is that she was probably joining to just get her foot in the door, then go either like green to gold or just transition to be, you don't see many enlisted personnel with that extensive of like a college background.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I was getting at.
They may get it after they're in, but not when they're there.
Right, because most of the people I know that were in the military and by the time they got out had a decent education, even like doctors, they went in like right out of high school and they got their education in the military. I have a
fun story about a doctor.
All right.
Guess what rank doctors come in at?
So, meaning like you're already a doctor?
Yeah, like an MD. So say like a MD wants to be an Army MD.
Okay.
they come in at like a captain. Like, so they come in already at like a company, like they're like, if you were to look at like leadership in like the Army rank structure, a captain would be in charge of a company of like 120 guys or 120 people.
So you can come in with medical experience, no management experience.
I literally went to a TDY in Fort Knox, Kentucky, that there was a captain there that she was a audiologist, and that's such a small subset of specialties that like if the Army can pick one up, they'll give them benefits. They're like, yo,
I see what you're saying.
If you have a master's in audiology, like we'll give you a captain, which
Right.
captain is paid a decent wage. I think.
So
like
do
a
they give
captain
the
makes
title just for the salary at that point?
So at that point, the rank is just a salary.
Right.
Thing. Yeah, it's like, yo.
You think there's a better way to do that? Because technically, if shit hit the fan, they would be in charge of, like you just said, hundreds of people, right?
So, yeah. And so that was my point. It was like the audiologist at Knox was a captain. She looked at me like I was like, yes, ma'am, blah, blah, blah. And like I was like, well, don't you know about da 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 da? And she was like, 3 weeks ago, I was a postdoc graduate of audiology, and now I'm a captain. And I was like, oh, you like they have to go through like OCS, right? Like there's a very basic course that you have to go through,
right?
But it's not extensive. Like imagine a private coming out of basic being in charge of 120 people. You would be very scared. Imagine me coming out of basic as a PFC, and the Army goes, here's 120 people.
Right.
Manage them. It would be it'd be funny to see.
Yeah,
but it'd be a shit show.
I find that very strange because there's a couple things I think are wrong with that. Now, I never served, man. I almost did right out of high school. I was talked out of it by family because I graduated in 03. So, 9/11, we're fresh off of 9/11. We're like probably some of the most aggressive points of the war at this point. And with no secondary education, I mean, I was most likely seeing combat. I'm not going to come in and be like, no, I want to be a lawyer. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. You have no experience, no education, like you're out of high school.
Depending on what you scored on the ASVAB, you could have gotten JAG.
Okay.
So depending on what you want to do is where you want to go, right? So if you're like a gung-ho guy and you want to see combat, you either go join the Marines or you go join the Army in the, combat arms field.
Okay.
Infantry, field, artillery, tanks, like the whole gambit of what they have.
Right.
Each section attracts the people that want to go there, right? Like very few. I mean, I guess young, like if I was 18 and like the recruiter wanted to push me into something,
yeah, he
probably could have.
You could have got suckered into going anywhere they wanted you to.
When I graduated high school, I actually had plans to go into the Navy first.
Okay.
Because my high school years I actually spent on a sailboat.
That's right.
So I actually liked being on a boat. It was actually fun. Like I actually still love the sea. Like that's one of the reasons why I moved back to here.
Right.
I'm like, bro, I gotta go back to the beach. Like I gotta be like, there's burritos. There's
there's a beach vibe that it's
and I love it. I'm just like that's
coastal
home.
Towns are awesome.
That's home. So I was like, the Navy's always by a beach.
Always.
I'm like, let's go with the Navy. And I wanted to be a diver because Scuba Steve, I dove. Like I was like, how awesome would it be to just dive?
Yeah.
All day, every day. The Navy doesn't dive where you want to dive. It's like, dude, there's mines and the Straits of Gibraltar or some
there's
whatever,
some crazy
right?
shit.
Like they gotta go. Like they dive deep. Like the life expectancy of a deep sea diver is not. It's not good.
Yeah,
it's not long.
I remember reading that.
There's huge health issues. So I'm kind of glad I didn't go.
All right. So when you enlisted, what were you like? So what was your goal? Like you wanted something specific?
The reason why I enlisted was I kind of felt like I was trapped, right? Like I kind of almost felt like I was trapped in that like Scuba Steve mentality. Like I was expected to do wild and crazy shit.
Yeah.
And
Like night after night.
yeah, that and like I was stuck in like a bullshit job. I think I was making like $11 or $12 an hour. I was like,
what were you doing at the time? I'm trying to remember. I couldn't remember.
So I was the supervisor of production at a plastics.
I remember that. I remember that. Yep.
So I mean, it was all right money, but looking back on it now, I'm like that was shit money, and like so that was part of it. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm literally stuck. Like I'm not doing anything. Like let's go see what they got.
So were you going with the aspirations of a career, or just to see where it would lead you?
Initially, yeah, I had aspirations to do 20 years.
Okay. Any specific? See, this is where I like.
I wanted something. So actually, what I wanted was I wanted to be a medical lab tech.
Okay.
Because that's what my mom was.
Okay, so you had
and she makes
experience,
like, decent money.
Yeah.
Like she's not hurting for cash. So
no, lab techs.
I was
like,
money. Hell yeah! I'm like, yo, if they're gonna teach me this, all I got to do is just. I'm like, yeah. Well, the problem with that is that everybody wants to be a lab tech because it's a great gig,
right?
Right? Like there's medical lab tech quotas aren't ever not filled.
Gotcha.
Right? So yeah, like the wait time was like a year and a half.
Oh,
it was
geez.
like,
so what do you do in the year and a half? So what, you know what I mean?
Literally just wait. Like you're just sitting there. So, but that's not what I did. Right?
Okay.
Like I was like, I'm like, bro, in a year and a half, like who knows where like I'm gonna be in a year and a half from now.
Right.
So
so can you define sit and wait? Because I'm thinking sit and wait like from a civilian standpoint, where it's like, all right, I got to cover the bills and stuff, which doesn't have to happen because you're getting paid by the government.
No, you're not.
You're not getting paid?
No. So what happens now when you join is you first go to MEPS. Like
okay.
Your first initial MEPS visit is you take your ASVAB, you get your physical done, you go through the whole shebang.
You're getting some sort of pre-ranking going on.
Well, you have to get medically cleared to join.
Okay.
So you have to like the duck walk and all the other stupid like. Yes. So the guy at the Tampa MEPS, he has to like cup your balls and you have to cough, right? So he's got a hold of my junk and he's like cough. So I look down at him and he makes the mistake of looking me dead in the eyes, and I just go, and like we were making eye contact the whole time. He's just like you see in his eyes, he's just like, oh come on, dude, you ain't got to make it. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah. Who the fuck signs up to be in the military to cup balls?
So that doctor's probably paid like $110,000 a year. He's probably a GS-12.
Okay.
A GS. He's fairly he's compensated.
So he's not always cupping balls.
So he's the doctor that clears you, right?
And he's cupping a lot of balls.
He's cupping every ball in that. He's cupping every ball in the building. That's going through the process.
At what point do you put in for like a transfer? The day you pop a boner when you cup a ball? You're like, I don't even know why this happened.
I think the day like you're like you have your own balls and you cough. You're just like like I gotta get out of this job. Like I gotta like this. Like there's just something in your brain. You're like,
I need to change the pace. Yeah,
like I gotta get out of here.
I need to change the pace. Yeah, or somebody coughs and you're looking to see if someone's holding their balls.
Somebody need a ball to hold. Come on, man.
So, all right. So you go through all your. I'm not even calling this basics, right? You go through your medical clearance.
So this is MEPS 1, right? So MEPS 1, you get medically cleared and you actually sign your contract, right? So you'll take your ASVAB, and depending on your score, is like, you can do these things.
Okay.
Like, what do you want to do? Recruiters can also pre-load you for a job, so you can show up with like a slot. Like, we have you slotted for this, but you've scored here. So like, say like they have you in a spot and you don't get the ASVAB score.
You don't qualify for it, basically.
Right? So you're going to lose that slot.
Right.
But now you have to pick. Like, you can pick or you can walk away.
You
right?
can walk away.
Oh, yeah, of course. You can always walk away.
Oh, so this is what happened,
Bro,
man.
Until you get on the bus to the airport, MEPS 2,
okay,
you can walk away.
Oh, so this is where I messed up, because I was told you go, you fill out the paperwork, you tell them essentially what you want to do. If you don't qualify for it, here's a gun. You're going to at that time Afghanistan.
What year was that?
03.
That was exactly what would have happened.
Okay.
To you.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That would have. Yeah. I joined in 2011.
Okay.
8 years after that. So now
there's plenty of people
Bagram
over in
Air Force
Afghanistan.
Base is built. It's
Yeah.
Like, we have infrastructure.
Isn't that crazy?
In the country, yeah.
That's to me that's crazy, because I mean, if picking up a gun would have been what I had to do, then that's what I had to do.
Well, that's what a lot of guys do.
But I was going to college. Like, I already was like accepted to college. You know what I mean? So my thing was like, well, if I go, it's because I want, like, I want to come out of it with a career. Like, I want to come out of it and be like, this is what I do, or I want to do something valuable in there. I mean, like, looking back, it's funny. Like, looking back, I should have. I was talked out of it, but I should have. And dude, it's something I think about all the time. And as the years go on, I'm like, I wish I could. And I know there's people out there I know who are going to bash me for it. I know I could have still gone. I still could go, right? But
you're
I'm 36.
Any medical problems?
No, I mean, I can lose 20 pounds.
Well, everybody can lose 20 pounds.
But no, I mean, no medical problems. I mean,
Depending on so I believe that the maximum age has been lowered. So, like, then when I joined, during the surge,
they would take anybody, right? Yeah.
Bro,
just go.
Here. Come on.
Yeah, we need bodies.
So, which made it crazy for somebody like me that came after the surge. You would see guys that had, like, face tattoos and like head tattoos. You're like, what the hell is that? And they're like, yo, dude, that guy got like a tattoo exemption during the surge, like, which later, which I actually felt bad for those guys, because at one point, like, the Army changed the tattoo policy, and they were effectively going to force these guys out if they hadn't hit retirement age, like retirement yet. Like, even at 17 years, like, you're going to get maybe something, but not.
That's tough, man.
And those guys, you would see, like, they're pissed. They're like, yo, this better, because, like, I mean, they were being, you had to go get every tattoo that you had photographed by your commander, and they would have to upload it to, like, some, site, and, like, they were logging all this, crap. Like, they were, like, guys were getting scared. And then all of a sudden, like, they actually saw how many people they were going to push out. And they're like, okay, like, just,
yeah.
That whole thing just died out.
I mean, I'm glad it died out.
Yeah.
But I hear about sort of stupid stuff like that in the government all the time, man.
I know a guy that just made Sergeant First Class, which is a big deal. Like, that's the first rank that Congress has to approve.
Okay.
Like, so somebody in Congress had to look at this dude and be like,
sign off on it.
Yeah, okay. It's a big deal. He just made it this past week. Yeah, because it was, so it takes effect October 1st.
Okay.
Like everything takes effect on the 1st.
Okay.
So he pinned that this week. He was one of the ones, because he has a Texas Longhorn tattoo on, like, his upper back, like here.
Okay.
But the horns come up past where, like, our dress uniform was supposed to be worn.
Okay.
So he was one of the ones that, like, I mean, it was like,
yeah.
Not even an inch.
Like, at that point,
like,
cut it off with a razor blade or something if you had to.
But like he was one of the ones that had to go get, like, photographed, and it, like, had,
that's
like,
crazy.
He was in violation of, like, the tattoo policy. He was one of the ones that was, effectively going to get pushed out.
Right.
and until they changed, and I was like, how crazy is that?
Right.
Like, the dude's obviously a stellar guy.
Right.
Mean, so following him on Facebook, everything that he does is just training this and training that, and like he's like. So
he's what they want, and they were going to get rid of him.
He was a squared away guy.
Yeah,
a great guy.
Yeah, that's crazy. So not to get too sidetracked. So you went to MEPS 1.
So MEPS 1, you do your physical. You actually pick your job.
Right.
You sign your contract. You go home.
What was your job at the time?
So the job that I picked was preventive medicine technician.
Okay.
Or they probably call it a specialist.
When you were trying to stay in the field because you're still trying to be a lab tech at that time, right?
I wanted something in the medical field,
okay.
right? Because the thought process going in was I want to be somewhere in a field that's growing.
Okay.
So that I can do it on the outside. So like, obviously the goal is to go in, get a degree, have experience, and then come out. And now you're the star applicant.
Sure. Yeah.
So I picked Prev Med because it was in the medical field, and the recruiter that I had was Prev Med before.
Okay.
He was a great guy. Like, that dude tried to help me out a lot. I didn't listen to a thing. He said, man. So
I'm not surprised.
He like sits me down, right? He's like, yo, like, I got Prev Med. He's like, it's a cake job. He's like, you're not gonna have to pick up anything more than like a clipboard. You're gonna do. He's like, yo, like, you have lab experience, you get this experience, like, we're jack of all trades, like, and it's true. Like, the amount of stuff that like Prev Med has to cover is vast. I mean, you have to know like tree rot and food stuff and air stuff and soil stuff. It's insane. So, he's also like, yo, like the AIT is in San Antonio. He's like, stay away from the Riverwalk. He's like, all there is booze. He's like, you're just gonna spend you're gonna spend every dime you got. He's like, don't get married. He's like, don't even start dating a girl. And you're like, he's like, bro, I'm telling you. He's like, stay away. I'm like, all right. So yeah. So MEPS 2, so when I joined, like I went in June and actually signed my contract, and then I shipped out in November. So it was about 6 months. No. Like 4 months or something like that. So it wasn't that big of a time, like between like the time that I actually like signed the contract and left.
Okay.
So MEPS 2 is the day that you leave.
Okay.
And
so you went on the bus.
Like so now the recruiter has to drive you to MEPS.
Okay.
Right. So like now like you show up at MEPS and like it's time to go. Like you have to do like one last medical check, and then you're on a bus to the Tampa airport to fly from Tampa to. I think we flew straight from. No, we didn't. So we had to fly. No, we did. So we flew straight from Tampa to Oklahoma City, and then bussed in. So it's like a 2-hour bus ride. And like, of course, like no, like of course, like it's like they plan it, right? So like you arrive at like 11 o'clock at night, and like everyone's tired, it's all dark, and like of course like everyone comes like, get off the bus. You're like, oh Jesus, all right, come on, let's get off the bus. And like yeah, so now you're at reception, and then you have to go to bait. Like you're at reception, you got to do more clearing. Like you have to be like in process to the actual army now. Like the recruiting command is now handing you from recruiting command to TRADOC, which is the training command.
Okay.
So like they run the schools, they run basics, they run AITs, they run like the senior.
So already enlisted training type of like
yeah.
so after, what do you even call that?
It depends. Like I mean, so TRADOC will do. I mean, they do.
So like if you're already enlisted and I don't know, like you're trying to advance in your field, like you'd go there for trainings and stuff like that. Is that what you're saying?
So there are like online courses. I'm not. So your question isn't phrased right.
Okay.
Okay. So TRADOC has to deal with actual like institutions, like buildings.
Oh, I gotcha.
Like actual, like when you go to TRADOC. So like if you go to, so like to go from E4 to E5, you have to go to like it used to be called WLC. It's now BLC. It's been called a million different things, but there's a school that you have to go to and graduate.
I gotcha.
And that schooling is run in a very specific, standardized way.
Okay.
So they have to have an entity that no matter where it is, it doesn't matter if you're going through in Oklahoma, if you're going through in California, it's the same thing around.
Okay.
So
and that's a normal process for anybody essentially like advancing through the ranks.
You have to go through certain schools.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So like.
So I guess what I was saying is so like you're saying there are like newly enlisted men, and then there's people who are being promoted or in the process of it.
So when you join, you either join from an E1 to an E4. Right?
Okay.
So at E1, like they don't have any like they're a high school senior that literally just joined.
Like there's no experience. There's nothing.
Nothing. Like it's their first job.
Yeah. It's their first thing.
The Army is their first job, and I knew a guy. Squared away guy. So he was actually my NCOIC in Germany. Big, like 6'3", freaking jack black guy. Awesome dude. Awesome dude. Like but yeah, the Army was
that's his first job.
Which, like you could tell, he's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, he's like, PT, like. Yeah. Which he's younger than me at that point. So like, I'm like this old. I'm like, bro. I'm like, okay, how do you hear with that noise? But yeah, he's great guy.
Yeah. See, that was always my vision of an enlisted person, right? It's like right out of high school, but that doesn't mean that they don't leave a doctor.
Army's number one problem is that they highly recruit out of high school pool. Right. Imagine a bunch of 18-year-old freaking kids running around with fucking assault rifles.
Oh, yeah. Like I changed my major twice in school, which means I changed what I thought my future was. My entire future, I changed like with a form.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't like statistics. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like these people are like,
you have to take them. I ain't gonna be an accountant anymore.
Yeah, like now this person's like in a trench holding a gun, and it's just like, I'm really thinking about changing my mind here. I should have been a veterinarian, but I mean,
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I should have done. I'll tell you right now what I should have. So if this isn't true, right? Because like I do, or I enjoyed the path that I took to get to here, right? But if I could do it all over again, if I could pitch one branch, that's what I'll say. If I could pitch one branch, the Coast Guard.
Oh, for sure. I got a friend in the Coast Guard.
Oh my God, it's so chill. You're on a boat, you're fishing. Yeah. What? Yeah. Now, so I actually served with a Navy guy at Knox. Crazy freaking story. Somehow, anyways, so the Navy dude was telling me about like some of the crap that the Navy and Coast Guard would do. He's like, Coast Guard actually, some of their guys are badass. Like you saw the clip of the guys like jumping off the boat.
Oh yeah.
Like open up.
Oh yeah.
Hey, so you can do that if you want, or you could be like a boat engine mechanic.
Sure.
And just like you're just working, turning a wrench.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Plus, okay. So even, I'm sure the Coast Guard probably has some pretty shit assignments. Depending on who you are, Anchorage, Alaska is probably not where you want to be.
Right. Like why? So when you're doing like your training, because I mean, you're not just enlisted and sitting there. You're training. You're keeping in shape, whatever. Yeah. They're just jumping into much colder waters. Than the dude that's stationed in Key West.
Yeah. He's stationed in Key West. You can never get me out of there.
No.
So there's certain assignments that you have some say, like where you get especially after your first contract.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna stay in for another contract, you depending on what you depending on what you do for your job and depending on what options are available to you, you have a say in where you go.
Yeah, because at this point you can walk away, right?
Yeah. So
Right.
like me, like so when it came time to re-enlist, I was like, what you got?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I got, Korea, which I was like, I don't want to go to Korea. Like, you hear horror stories about like the quickest way to make E5 is to go to Korea as a 6 because you're going to get bumped down. Like everybody goes there, they get an Article 15 because they have massive rules. Like you have to be in by like I think 12 or.
So is this because of? So why is it? Is this because of local rules?
It's just the rules there.
Okay.
I have no idea what runs that, what dictates that.
Yeah,
I
why?
never went. But like you hear horror stories about, you're like, I'm like, but you also hear like, yo, you're in Korea. Like, do you not know the amount of fun you can have? And I'm like,
I hear Korea's a blast.
yeah. So like most people, so I think everybody comes back from a place and they're like, bro, it's crazy. Like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you some of the places
but there's
like
few
that
places,
I went, and I'll tell you, it was crazy. But it was crazy because I made it.
You made it crazy.
I made it crazy.
Right, but it's the same you that made this town crazy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, like the point. So, like how I would explain it to like the new people coming in, I'm like, this place is what you make it.
Sure.
Like Fort Hood was my first assignment.
Where's Fort Hood?
Texas.
Okay.
It's in the middle of. It's not actually. It's not in a bad spot. Austin's about a hour away.
Okay.
Hour and a half away. Dallas is like 2 hours away. San Antonio is like 2.5, maybe 3 hours away.
That's not terrible.
Houston is like 2.5, 3 hours away.
So if you're a young dude over there, you can catch some football games. You can
do a lot.
You can do a lot.
Yeah, you can do a lot, but you have to be in a mindset to want to go out and do a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like, so I knew a guy in Germany that spent like 3 years in Germany, never left Germany.
See, I feel like if I was somewhere that was friendly to Americans, I would want to explore.
So I was stationed in Lonsdale, which is like 45 minutes from like the French border.
Okay.
So like this 45, like a 45.
You could be in
car
France.
Ride. You could go to a different country, like, and you never made the drive. Like, you didn't drive the 45 minutes. Down the road, just like, yo, I went to France.
I drove 45 minutes yesterday for a bottle of whiskey. You know, like that's weird, right?
Not really.
I mean, I could have been in a different country though.
Yeah. So one of the stores in France is Cora, like Cora.
Okay.
And they do these like huge wine selling events, and of course, like so you go and it's all Americans. Like, I mean, it's everybody that you see at work, everybody that you see on post, like they're all there. Like we're all just buying wines, massive amounts.
Yeah.
And bringing it back.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so cheap. Plus, there's like a wine cellar clause. So don't quote me on that. I don't. But it's a reduced tax on the wine that you bring back. So essentially, it's. I don't think it's tax free, but it's greatly reduced.
Well, look, I mean, we've got Kevin and I have coworkers from Italy, and like they come over here. We were in Capitol Grill, for a celebratory dinner, and he pulled us aside and was like, "Dude, for the price that you guys charge here in America for one glass of wine, I pay for the whole bottle, the same exact wine."
Yeah.
He's like, wine is cheap where they are, and I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, how is that possible? The same way beef is expensive over there, right?
So my first TDY, which is so a TDY is a temporary duty assignment, right? So like I worked in Lonsdale, but like we had an assignment that we had to complete that wasn't there, so we have to go there to do it.
Right.
Well, the place was Vicenza in. Excuse me. So the place was Vicenza in Italy. So you can either fly there or drive there. Well, we drove there, which kind of didn't make sense to me. I was like,
how long is the drive?
It's like a 9-hour drive.
Yeah, that sucks.
I was like, I look at the dude. I'm like, yo, like you want to drive to Vicenza? I'm like, yo, it's 9 hours in the car.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, it's Autobahn like the whole way. I'm like, okay, like I'm like, all right, let's go. Plus, he also like he's like, okay, so like where we were, it was like an hour and a half shuttle ride to the Frankfurt airport that you have to get to 2 hours ahead of time to take an hour flight to then. He's like, it's essentially the same time. He's like, we're gonna leave at the same time and arrive at the same time. It's just, did we fly there or drive there? Because like we have to get a rental car once we get there. So now we have to clear, blah blah blah, and get the car and then drive from wherever to here. He's like, we might as well drive. I'm like, all right, fine, we'll drive. Okay. I know the amount of wine that we brought back. It's so cheap.
So were you stopping places like?
So where Vincenza is, like, I mean, most of Italy is. I shouldn't say that. Where we were, there were ample amounts of wineries, right?
Okay.
So like a family owned a winery,
And you could just pull up and buy wine.
You would buy wine out of a gas pump. Like imagine like you drive up in your car, you have a jug,
and you just fill it up with wine
to a gas pump, and you just flip the thing.
That is ridiculous.
And out pours a nice, Chianti or whatever.
That's a ridiculous setup.
Yeah, we we would work during the day, and then when we were done, we would go tour, a wine, because like most of them had a restaurant or something.
Sure,
like that.
yeah.
So
grab a bite to eat.
Yeah, like we were there for 5 days, so we were like, all right, let's just go here and eat. And we would go there and eat, and we would try the wine, and then eventually like, hey, like a case of wine. So I think it was like €4 or €5 for like a bottle of wine. So it's like $6.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and that's for much better wine than you're getting here for $6.
And so like I think a case was either like 6 bottles or something like that. So it's like $36 for a case of wine. And I'm like, all right. The one wine that I was like, yo, like, so I went to get wine for Mel because I'm not big on wine.
Were you guys married at the time or together at the time?
Yeah. So I met Mel in like September or October of 2012.
Oh, so year after you enlisted.
Yeah.
Where did you meet her?
That's a crazy story.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You don't have to tell it if you don't want to. Did you meet her stateside or did you meet her? Okay.
Stateside. So my first TDY at Fort Hood. So
you don't have to say anything if you get in trouble or anything.
Oh no, I can't.
Okay.
No, it's done. So my first TDY with the Army period. I wasn't even in the Army a year yet. And they sent me to Texarkana, Texas, which is on the Texas-Arkansas border. We have a small Army depot there that repairs jacked up Humvees.
Okay.
So they have food courts and stuff. So we have to do certain testing and testing and employee monitoring there, right?
Okay.
So we were up there doing that. And so me and the person that I was TDY with go out to eat, and like we go out to like a barbecue place. I'm like, all right, cool, great. Well, I get barbecue, and like I ask for a beer. I'm like, yo, what kind of beer do you have? And she's like, oh, like this is a dry town. I'm like, wait, those exist still? I'm like, what do you mean the town's dry? She's like, no, like the county's dry. Like the closest alcohol is like 40 miles that way, or it was like 10 miles, right, or something like that. I was like, this place is hell. So I get on Facebook and I'm like, I'm here in Texarkana, blah blah blah. Well, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, whatever, he's like, yo, dude, like I'm here, which is like very close. Like so it was either like I don't know the name of the town. Don't ask me. Like Mount
yeah, who cares?
Pleasant or something.
Yeah,
like that, right?
I mean, it's fine. Yeah. It's whatever.
So I go out with him, and I get arrested for.
Stop. You got arrested?
Yeah. So this is it gets worse. I get arrested for a DUI in a government-owned vehicle.
In a dry town. Oh no, you were in a wet town.
We went over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first DUI, like I'm brand new to the army, like I'm just so stupid. Yeah. So like my NCO I see at the time, like he has to come with like a major to come and like talk to the officials. The person that I went with, like the plan after I got arrested was like, yo, I gotta get the fuck out of jail. I gotta get back to the hood. I'm like, I gotta get back. Like I gotta get back. So he actually posted bail. Like they're like, yo, dude, like roll up. And I'm like, yes. And then they never came and got me. And I was like I'm hitting the button. I'm like, yo, like what happened? Like, I thought I was getting picked up. And like the guy comes in, he's like, yeah, the army called, and you're staying here until they come and, grab you. And I was like, oh man,
dude.
So yeah, my NCO.
Were you shitting your pants?
That was probably one of the lowest points in my life, right there.
Really?
Definitely. Definitely.
So, would you think it was all over?
That thought, definitely.
Yeah.
I was like, so the amount of shame that I felt, because I was like, yo, I'm gonna get kicked out of the army. I'm like, I gotta go back. Like, I gotta go back home. Like less than a year after I left, like I couldn't even hack
everything.
Freaking army.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. Like I mean,
Pauly Shore went to the army.
So I was like, oh my god. And yeah, so I think I got arrested like Friday morning at like whatever time. There wasn't enough time to get the TDY prep to get the NCOIC and made like, so it was a 6-hour drive from or maybe it was longer than that. It's like a whole day just driving from Fort Hood to Texarkana. So they couldn't get the TDY finances prepped in time to come and grab me Friday, obviously. So I had to wait until Monday. I was like, oh my god! I had to spend the weekend in jail, bro. It was, yeah. The thoughts that I had in my head, I was like, oh, I'm such a failure. I was like, bro. So you actually start thinking about yo, if I was gonna end it here, like how. It was like I'm gonna suffocate myself in like a plastic trash bag. I'm like that's the stupidest. That thought I was like, you could suffocate yourself in the trash bag. I'm like, that's the stupidest idea. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going out like that.
You might as well be a live loser.
I was like, I'm not going out like that. So I was like, no. Yeah. So my NCOIC came and picked me up at the time, and he gave me the best advice I have ever gotten in my life. He looks at me and goes, you're going to shut the fuck up. And I go, okay. He goes, he preps me for what's about to happen. He goes, our company commander is about to call you into his office, and you're about to go through a whole process. And at the end of the process, he's going to ask you if you want an attorney or not. He's like, what do you think the appropriate response is? I'm like, well, I want an attorney. He goes, let's go. And we just drove all the way back to Hood, and then I had to go through the whole process, report in, have, you've been alleged of doing this, blah, blah, blah. What do you have to say, for yourself? And I was just like, I don't want to make a statement, and I want a attorney. And I also had, I also got a civilian attorney to handle the Texas. So now I'm fighting two things.
Within the military.
So I'm fighting the chain of command because now they're coming after me. And I'm also fighting Texas because they're coming after me. So that was a pretty low point too, which,
You can lump that in. That's a low time.
Yeah, right. So So going through that, I had to go back to court. So I hired a civilian attorney to handle that. And he's like, okay, well, we have court on X date. I forget what the date was. I was like, all right. So I call the friend of the friend of the friend, like, hey, like I got court on this day. Like, you mind if I come up like the night before and crash, at your place? He's like, yeah, because like his place was, I think like an hour away instead of like 7 hours away. I was like, oh, that's so much better. Apparently, I didn't learn anything. Right? Apparently, I didn't learn a goddamn thing. Right? Because like that night, like here we go again. Like now this time I'm not driving.
Yeah, but are you drinking now because of like the like overwhelming, just like shitstorm?
I was stupid. Yeah, probably, maybe. Like I was like feeling low, and I was like, shit, let's get drunk.
Because that's justifiable, in my opinion.
I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
It just leads to more. Okay, I can't. It leads to. It doesn't lead. So the night before I have to go to court, I go out with this dude again, and we get hammered.
The night before.
The night before I have court.
Yeah, now you got a problem.
Yeah, now I'm stupid, right? But that's also the night I meet Mel.
Okay.
So I meet Mel, and so I go to court. The guy's like, look, like this is what Texas is all like, offering you, and he offers me what it is. It's an advantageous deal, so I take it. I'm like, yes, thank you. It was probation, like I had to do like community service and pay fines, but like I met Mel.
Did that allow you to stay in the military, or is it two completely separate things?
So there is such a thing as double jeopardy. So if Texas, this was what I was worried about, is that once I had settled it with Texas, it wasn't a conviction. I pled guilty to, I believe, refusing a breathalyzer.
Okay.
Which is supposed to come to like you're supposed to not be able to drive for like a year or something.
Okay.
Like all the fines.
So it's not the same as
a
DUI.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Army could then potentially go after me for driving under the influence at the time. The only problem with that was that there's no evidence. I didn't blow.
Right.
All you have is the word of the officer administering the field sobriety tests.
And they just settled saying that
the dude, even like the arresting officer, was like, bro, I don't want to do this. If it hadn't been for the circumstances in which I had found myself in, I want to say I was very stupid. Okay. Very stupid. Yeah, very dumb. But even the guy, he was like, bro, I don't want to do this. Like, I mean, I was not drunk. I'm not going to say anything. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
But,
whatever it is.
Yeah. Very dumb.
But that's how you met
Mel. So,
Mel. So if you wouldn't have been there for the extended time, you know what I mean? Like,
I can't. I that's the one thing I'm like, I don't want to try to assess whether that was good or bad. Like it just is what it is.
Like, man, there's one of the things I've learned too is it's like we can't change yesterday, right? So whatever yesterday led us to, it did. Whether it's a fork in the road and you make the same damn choice again, I mean, like it is what it is. Like, so I think about all the time, like mistakes I've made in life too, right? But it's like I'm like, oh, would have I met Janet? Would I have my kids? Because like, look, if I could go back. Even just on this conversation, like if I could go back, I would have tried to go jag or something like that.
Yeah.
But like in a perfect world, I'd still end up with Janet and still the kids. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
so I'll also say like, I may not have learned the lesson when I should have.
Okay.
But I did learn a lesson. Unfortunately, that lesson was don't drive. Like,
right.
Hey,
it wasn't don't drink. It was just don't drive.
You can continue.
Yeah.
To do what you want. Just don't drive.
Right.
Just Uber, taxi, friends, whatever. Right. So, but like the overall like lesson that I should have learned is like, control yourself.
Sure.
Like you can have a drink. You can two is fine. Right? Maybe just don't go over a certain point.
Yeah.
Right? Like always be in control.
in like
Okay.
circumstances. Like,
Yeah.
don't put yourself in a stupid situation.
Which, I mean, shit. Then thinking back, I still haven't learned a fucking thing. 'Cause so, like years after that, now I find myself TDY in Poland. It's just a shit show. Oh my god. The stupid shit. So
Did you get in trouble? You told me some of your Poland stories.
No, yeah. So again,
Yeah.
we're not like it wasn't anything that I could get in trouble for, because like you have fun.
Right.
It teaches you to have fun the correct way.
Well, most of the stuff that you told me, I mean, look, it's all when you're what is it when you're off duty? You know what I mean? Like you're
so there is. I shouldn't say that, but like the atmosphere that I was like, like a TD1 was like a time to like chill out, right? Not like you have work, right? You have to get the work done, definitely, right? But it's
not like everyday routine.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Like you're now away. Like, so imagine like imagine you're a guy that works at like the Coca-Cola plant, like just filling Coke cans all day.
Yeah.
Or, working in shipping and receiving, or just that guy, right? Just the guy that has some menial task that he has to do every day at this one site.
Right.
And then you take him and you're like, yo, like you're going to go on like, a corporate seminar about whatever in X town. And then they're like, here, like we'll get you there and we'll give you extra money
a per diem or
for
something like that.
Food and stuff like that. Like here, like,
Yeah.
What's the odds like that guy's to be like, well,
yeah, you might loosen up a little bit. Yeah.
Some do, some don't.
I mean, I told you the stories when I would get sent off for like broker training when I was financial advisor. Yeah. They sent me to St. Louis with a per diem. Like, you send me to St. Louis with a per diem, and you tell me like we can't go here, we can't go there because we all get in trouble. Like, I close down the hotel bar every night.
Yeah.
Like, I specifically remember. You remember when we'd go to the bar and people would be like, I'd pay for that shot of tequila if you snort the salt and squirt the lime in your eye. Remember shit like that? I would do it with TJ, right? I remember jumping into a hotel pool in my full suit to have my bar tab covered. That's a fucking great idea. That's a great deal for me, isn't it?
Maybe it depends on what the dry cleaning bill is, or like the suit's ruined.
I had a per diem and dry cleaning gets covered because you're on a work trip.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I dropped the suit off. I remember jumping in the pool, changing, dropping the suit off to have it dry cleaned, and then I wore my next one the next day.
Yeah.
But, there's shit like that, but it's like, I wouldn't even do that in my own town. Like, I wouldn't do that at the local bar. Like, there's no need. I wouldn't do that at my friend's house.
Yeah.
But there's no rules when...
Well, there's rules.
Yeah.
Rules still exist. But that's the thing that you have to keep in mind.
Yep.
Right.
There's still rules.
Well, so also like you stop. I mean, that's not always necessarily true. Like I think a lot of it just comes with age. Like you
mature
have to,
a little bit.
Yeah, you have to work yourself. Like you have to work your way through things. You have to give yourself the grace to make mistakes and learn. Like as long as you learn the mistakes.
Dogs are excited about something. Yeah. But no, I mean, I feel you. Yeah. There's still dumb stuff I think that we both probably do, even as adults, right? We were just talking about it. We were just talking about playing Minecraft, like with the kids or whatever, right? Yeah. And next thing you know, I'll speak for myself. Next thing you know, like, I'm on a video game kick. And I'm like, dude, this is not good for me. Like, it's fun, but I'm like, dude, the last 3 hours, like, dude, this shit was not. What is this doing for me?
That's why, like, I have to actively resist all that.
I try not to even touch it.
Cause like once you're in, like,
yeah, and in the big scheme of things, not a whole lot wrong with that. There's not in the big scheme of things. The thing is,
you could be doing worse things.
You could be doing worse things, but I think the problem is what you're trading off in that moment, right? So it's like, could I have gotten one of those honeydew things or crossed something off my list? Dude, you can go home. There's always shit you have to do, man.
Yeah.
There's always shit we have to do.
So now that's actually something that like I have to worry about my oldest son. Cause like he's now playing. Like, dude, you should see some of the insane stuff like that he's built. Like he's like showing me like,
within Minecraft.
Yeah, within Minecraft, and I'm like,
yeah,
like I don't even know how to do this. And like he's asking me like, I'm like, bro, you're better at this than me, and that I'm like, wow. Like,
aren't your boys playing baseball?
They play so the oldest one does. Okay. The youngest one's not there yet. Like he's not old enough.
Yeah,
like, he's
yeah, it's fine.
But like that is something that like I have to tell him like dude, you can't let yourself begin to think that like what's in there is real.
It's not reality.
It's not real.
Yeah.
Like
see, I have no problem with them playing it.
Like you think you're building this house, like you're not building a house.
Yeah.
You've just stacked square cubes on top of square cubes.
Digital square cubes, by the way.
I'm like you have to do stuff in the real world.
Yeah, you have to really do something.
Yeah, like go. Yeah, and that's why baseball or something like that.
Yeah, baseball is. So I give my son a much longer leash because of baseball, and because he's not just going through the motions, because he's trying. Because he's not just going to practice because that's what he does on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like he's going to practice and trying to get better at something and trying to like outdo some of the bigger kids and stuff. I mean, my son's 7. We moved him up early. I mean, he's on player pitch right now, so he's playing with like 11-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good.
And he's starting second baseman.
Jeez.
Yeah, like it's cool.
Yeah, he's good.
Now, are there other kids that could probably play second base? Yeah, but they're better off for us in other positions, you know. But
so there's this little kid, like Cannon's 6, and he's like here, right? This other kid is like I don't know, 5, maybe. He's tiny, he's small, like clocks the ball. Huh. Like you can
it's crazy to see.
You can tell that like somebody's worked with that kid from a very very young age. Like just the smooth. He calls it. He's like over there.
All right.
Bink. I was like,
all right. Yep.
Oh.
I think about that shit all the time. I mean, Blake's been playing baseball since he was 3. And I've coached every one of his teams. I mean, mostly in a assistant coach capacity because, I mean, dude, I could be in Miami on Tuesday and not get home in time, and I can't be letting an entire team down. My own kids is enough, But I don't know, man. But back to your point, like, it's tough, right? Like, they gotta be doing something in the real world because you can justify playing video games just by working all day. Right? You're like, I worked all day.
Can you? Is that the...
You shouldn't, maybe. But I think we can. I think we could feel like we deserved it because we worked so hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, I would say that the answer is yes. I mean, obviously, you can do what you want.
I mean, as an adult, isn't that one of the hardest things about being a fucking adult? Is that you can, like, reward yourself anytime you want.
No. What?
Like, I mean, reward, like, even if it's just like eating bad. You get what I'm trying to say? It's like I worked hard so I can
do this.
You get what I'm trying to say? But it's like, but the trade-offs weren't even. Like, you sat at a desk all day so that you can eat a cheeseburger. Like, that doesn't work. Like, you should be eating healthy because you sat at a desk all day. We do this like instant gratification thing all the fucking time, man. I do it. Dude, I do it. The other day I was like, well, I've been driving all day. Dude, I had to drive to Naples to work for 40 minutes and come back.
See, that whole drive, like, this is so dumb.
The whole time you're mad. You're mad the whole time.
This is so dumb.
So on the way home, I bought myself like a real Coke, which instead of a Diet Coke, and a Snickers, and I'm like, I deserve this shit. But bro, what did I do to deserve that? I sat in a car all day long, and I'm putting that shit in my body. It tastes delicious. I liked it.
Yeah.
But then you come home and then you're like, there's other things I deserve too. Like, I should sit on the couch and play video games. I can do this. I can do that. I didn't do any of those things because I passed the hell out. I'm an old fat fuck these days. I have no energy for nothing. But those are the things that it's like, it's just tough because you see it in your kids and you don't want to reward them for every little thing that they do.
No. So, something that I've seen, which is my kids, is that when like Cannon's at baseball, right? Like there's a playground there, so like I'll take no one there, and I'll just go sit at the bench and watch him, right? Like he obviously knows enough that he, knows to like stay away from these things. Like he can't do them yet. But like some dads are like just like they never leave. Like they're never less than 3 feet
away from their kid. Yeah, it's tough,
I'm like,
right?
I'm like, you gotta let them figure this out at some point. Like, yes, granted, like a 3-year-old should not be figuring out complex things, but like a jungle gym,
it's all right.
A playground set is something that they should be able to figure out.
You ever watch your kid trying to make friends, like new people?
Well, you saw what I did, right?
Yeah. Just throw them in.
I just walked in. I was like, hey man, what's that? They're like, oh, I was like, air.
Go.
There you go.
Yeah, and I do the same thing with Blake because I had a very hard time making friends. Yeah. I was so self-conscious growing up.
Cannon is very shy.
Is he?
Yeah.
I had such a hard time, man. Like it was difficult, man. I to this day, like I still have a hard time looking somebody new in the eyes until I've like, it's so weird, until I've picked up on their tone that they are not like a complete asshole or douchebag, and then I'll like engage with them. It's like my way of being like, we're not doing this.
Bro, I thought you were retarded.
Yeah?
It's like the first year I met you. Like, you never looked me in the eyes. You're
really?
Like,
I do.
I'm like, yeah, what the fuck is wrong with Frank?
I do love that, man. I'm telling you, bro. But there's, so I don't want my son to have those same insecurities. So I'm like, go. Yeah. Like, his first time on this new baseball team is all new people to him. All new people. He didn't know a single one. And he's, like, in between. I wasn't on the field. Like, I wasn't even a coach at that point. I'm on the outside watching him, giving him pointers through the fence. And, like, in between bats, he's like, I don't like this. Like, I want to go. And I'm like, you love baseball. You don't like the situation you're in. You know what I mean? So I'm like, go out there. And I said, you know what? These people are looking at you like you're this little runt on the team because you are. You just turned 7. You shouldn't even be here. I said, show them that you know how to throw. Like, it's like earn your way into this. I'm like, this is not... And maybe I'm wrong, dude. I don't have a degree in raising children.
Well, no one does, and I think universally, starting anything new or going into anything new, there's always reluctance.
Yeah,
and there's always some like apprehension that you have.
There should be, man. It's natural. You are assessing yourself. Like we always like rank ourselves or compare ourselves, right? So it's like if you're really good at something and you invite me to do something I've never done before, I'm going into it like this dude knows everything and I know nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like why this? I don't want to do this. This is uncomfortable. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude.
But you got a lot to learn from.
You got right. It's all about how you go in it.
Yeah. So there's a great line in the Guardian. You ever seen it? It's Kevin Costner and.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, so
that's a good movie.
Yeah, like there's a line.
I was thinking about that earlier when we were talking about the Coast Guard.
Yeah, he's like the only difference between like the rescuer and the victim is like the attitude in which they enter. Like
Yeah.
So like that's it.
Yeah, the victim didn't intend on being there.
Right. So like the dude jumping in, he's like
he knows
jumping
what he's
in.
doing.
Yeah. Like, well, and his attitude is I'm going in like no fuck I don't want. So imagine like if your attitude from the start is I'm going in.
Yeah.
Right. Like all right, I'm gonna make it. Like I'm going in.
Yeah. That's kind of reckless, right? It's cool though. So Blake, after a couple of days, he goes. I saw him throwing with some of the other kids, and one of the kids like dove for a ball and caught it. And then I watched, the funniest thing was like I watched Blake emulate him and dive for the next ball and caught it. And then as a parent, I'm like, crap, like this kid's going to be like, this little kid's trying to copy me, And then he goes, this other kid goes, I see what you did trying to copy him or whatever. And the kid goes, yeah, and he caught it too. Yeah. You know what I mean? So at that point, So then all of a sudden, Blake's confidence rose up a little bit. Like, I can do this with these kids, you know? And then he started laughing, and Blake was like, I mean, I wasn't trying to. I fell, and it just happened to look just like you know? So next thing you know, they're like, all right. And you know, so Blake starts playing catch with this kid. Kid starts throwing harder, realizes Blake's still catching it, you know, and Blake's throwing harder back, and the kid realizes he can play. And now it's completely normal. Now he's just a kid on that team. You know, it's like... You see this in nature shows all the time, right? Where
you see this in the Army all the time.
Is that what it's like?
So going in new, like, so imagine like you're like, okay, so like you go from AIT to like your first job, like your first assignment.
Right.
Right. So like I show up at Hood. Funny story about the way I show up at Hood. So I drive from Fort Sam, Houston to Fort Hood. It's only like a 2.5 hour drive. So my dad drives from Florida to Fort Sam, drops off, you know, my truck at the time, and then flies home. So I now have like my personally owned vehicle at a juncture that nobody else does. So like I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna
it's kind of cool, right?
Like I'm just gonna drive.
Yeah.
So like I literally like load up everything I own in 2 duffel bags, a TV, and an Xbox box. Like that's what I have. Like I got a TV and Xbox and 2 bags of clothes. I'm like, all right. Drive all the way from Fort Sam to Fort Hood. Show up at the gate. Now, generally, when you show up to an installation, like your CAT card won't work, right? So like they have to bring that CAT card's credentials to that post.
Okay.
So like I show up and I just pull up to the gate. I show my CAT card like I've always done, to get on the Fort Sam, and like they're like boop, and it's like boop. They're like, "Are you new here or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm, you know, showing up. I'm showing up to work, guys." And they're like, yeah, they're like, "Who are you with? Like, what the hell is going on?"
Yeah,
they're
they
like,
know nothing.
They know nothing because like I'm supposed to have flown in, gotten picked up by reception battalion,
right,
and like been handled in like
the normal process.
The normal process. So like I'm like, I pull out my orders, which are on the passenger seat. I'm like, yeah, here. He's like, oh, the hospital. So he gives me directions on how to get to the hospital. I'm like, all right, thanks. Like I, you know, drive there, and I park in some random parking lot, and I walk in. I see a sign that says command suite this way. I'm like, I'll go over there. Like, the sergeant major of the hospital, which is not a dude that you really want to meet on day one. Like I walk almost into his office. I don't fucking know. I don't know where the dude's at. I don't know what.
Yeah. You don't know anything. You don't know anything right now.
No idea what is going on at all. So I go walking. He's like, hey, soldier, you lost? I'm like, no, Sergeant Major. I'm fairly certain I'm supposed to be where I'm supposed to be. He's like, where are you supposed to be? And I'm like, here, I think. And I show my orders. He's like, are you new? I'm like, yeah, man, Roger. He's like, yeah, man, Roger. He's like, all right, cool, awesome, great. So he calls up like the department and COIC that had no clue. Like something went wrong where like I was cut orders, but they weren't tracking me yet. So they had no idea that I was inbound. Like nobody had tried to reach out to me to like be like a sponsor or like none of the usual processes that like are supposed to happen.
And you don't know what's supposed to happen because this is all new to you.
I don't fucking know. So like now like I'm hanging out like the sergeant major's office while like my NCOIC comes to pick me up like a school kid. Like I'm sitting outside like the principal's office. Yeah. I'm like, oh my god. So like the guy come, you know, and like he picks me up and like I finally get squared away, but meeting the sergeant major of the hospital on day one
under those circumstances,
it's not something like I was like, you know, I don't know, like I don't know anything. So he's like, hey, soldier, you lost. I'm like, not at the position of parade rest. I'm fairly certain I had my hand in my pocket. I was like, yeah, Ron Sergeant Major, like I think I'm supposed to be working here. And he's like, oh, Jesus, this shit show is here.
Yeah, like what the fuck is going on?
So
that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Dude, so we are at like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, are we? I got to get out of here.
I know you got to get out of there. It's 9:15. And I don't want to keep you too long because I know we had already talked about it. I do have a quick question for you, though.
Okay.
And you don't have to answer it if you don't want to answer it. It's absolutely fine. Lately, it seems as if the government, God, the government's such a vague term, isn't it? Washington, D.C., it seems to me like they're using the military at their disposal, which they're supposed to, right? But it seems like it's less and less for the good of the country and more as like a private army for like a small group of elites. I'm saying this completely wrong, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. A lot of this, it seems like they're doing this with, the whole vaccine mandate within the military. It's like I feel like they're trying to strip the personal connection that our armed forces have, like with home, away from them. Like they're trying to turn the army into just their chess pieces.
The army is a chess piece. That's exactly accurate. So
do you get what I'm saying though? Like
I do get what you're saying. Do we need to implement social justice lines of thought into the military when it comes to vaccines? First off, when it comes to vaccines being mandatory for service
or anything?
No, but it's not. So one, it's not new. Like you're required to get certain vaccines if you're going to go to a certain place.
Okay.
All right. So, if you're going to go to Afghanistan, Iraq, like you generally have to get
certain vaccines.
Certain vaccines. If you're going to go to Africa, you have to get certain vaccines.
Okay, and that's because of what you're going to come across
the lines of thought with the COVID vaccine is that they're going to come into contact with it. So we need to get this to everyone. That would be the logical line of thought. Okay. Now, are they thinking with a logical line of thought? I don't know. Okay. Right.
I mean, when you say it like that, I feel easier about it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel less like they're just trying to be controlling. You know what I mean?
There certainly is. There certainly is a fair amount of that. Like, just do what I say because I say so. Right. Yeah, sure. I mean, the military is good for a couple things. Waging war and knee-jerk reactions when it comes to policy. So, yeah.
It just feels like there's a lot more knee-jerk going on today.
Well,
for example, like, so I don't want to name names or put anybody on the spot, right? But I've got a friend who's Army Reserve, and so during, leading up to withdrawing the troops from Afghanistan, they basically have enlisted men pulling out, and the plan was replacing them with reserves. Like he was stationed, he was scheduled to be in Afghanistan after they pulled the troops out. So it's like,
were those orders still effective?
They were not still effective by the time we pulled out.
Yeah. So, okay. Understand that deployments are generally planned 18 months out. Right. So you have to follow a training guideline. The Army has established a process in which you deploy, you go through your deployment, you end your deployment, you transition back, right? So now everybody's back here. So now you have to get, everybody has to go through some sort of processing, and now there's monitoring of they have to go through certain classes. You may find it difficult to reintegrate with your family, right? You may come home and be like, I feel like a stranger in my own home.
Yeah,
Like,
which is common.
And they're like, this is how you combat it.
Gotcha.
Like, you can seek counseling here. You can bring your wife in. You can do this, blah, blah, blah. So, like, there's certain classes like that you'll come across or that you have to go through as you transition back. But once you transition back, you then hit a training cycle, which you now have to start going through small arm drills. You have to start practicing your job back over there, right? Because you're going back. You're going back in a year.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
that's what they were doing.
He may have had a deployment plan for, like, let's just name a month and years.
Sure.
So he may have had a deployment plan for March of 2022 if the war kept going on.
I see what you're saying.
But once Biden says, hey, we're out, then HRC will, it may take them a month or two to just, rescind that, because there's always the option that he changes his mind.
Yeah,
right?
there was just, to me, it seemed weird as an outsider looking in, because it was right around the time that the National Guard was pulled into Washington, D.C., and it seemed, in him, not being, called to anything, really, over X amount of years, was just like, there's just something really fishy about this. It seems like they're just kind of, playing games where they're pulling enlisted men out, replacing them with, reserves to protect the bases. And, it just... I mean, I know nothing. I hear things.
This may not be statistically true, but this was the census that I felt, is that active duty personnel deployed less. Not during the surge, but during the time that I was in. Right?
Okay.
So from 2011 till 2019,
right?
The bulk of I shouldn't. But we saw more and more reserves being pulled to go.
Okay.
So that's because active duty personnel, like what the private news network was like. Oh, well, that's because if you're reserve, you can go and it not affect the operational status, right?
Oh,
so if we have a guy in a seat here, we need a guy in a seat here.
Right.
So if we pull him and we deploy
if you deploy him,
then we got to fill this seat.
Right.
So it's easier to take the guys that are over there that are sitting on seats and just
Just skip from one process to another.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Sorry, your battery died. I was just trying to not anyway.
You're fine.
But I get it, man. And it's just my concern. It's like I'm always just. I mean, I'm concerned. I care about our armed forces. Like, I care about people that serve because they're my friends, they're neighbors, they're and you see everything going on. And personally, I don't have confidence in the administration. That's just me. I mean, you can or can't. Everybody, whatever. You don't have to say anything, even if you don't want to. It's fine.
I mean, there's no point in second guessing, right? But with the whole pullout, right? It went, atrociously. Okay, that's fine. We it would show what. Okay, have you kept up to date with that Lieutenant Colonel Schiller?
I have not.
So there's a lieutenant colonel in the Marines that made a viral video.
Yes.
Demanding accountability.
Yes.
He also made a second one that was a little creepier.
Right.
Right. That dude's now in jail.
Yes.
Right. And it's an indeterminate amount of time, and it's essentially he's there to be held until they figure out what to do with them.
Right.
Right. So, but is what he said true? Should we have some form of accountability? We were always taught that. I mean, that was always preached to us. You have to be accountable when it comes to.
Well, if you fucked up on your level, you're accountable.
You're
right?
accountable.
Yeah.
You have to. So that's preached. If you fuck up, you admit you fucked up. You take your licks, and then you move on.
Right.
You learn your lessons. You move on. When you see the amount of equipment that we left, and
that's a little scary, man.
So not only is it scary that now, people that we once called our enemy now have like the tools of war that.
I mean, these are good tools of war.
Some of them have been decommissioned and taken out of, like it's essentially just going to sit there until it rusts.
Okay.
Right. But that's not to say that all of it is.
I mean, they're flying some of our Blackhawks and stuff. Like, that's kind of crazy, right?
That's more than crazy.
Like, so Black Hawk is, I mean, that's like, they're like Black Hawk is to the United States as, Exodus is as oil is to the Middle East kind of a thing, right? I mean, like, that was one of our main weapons of war right there, wasn't it?
So it's a major workhorse in either getting guys in, getting guys out.
I think of Black Hawks, Humvees, like, I'm like, they drive Humvees and they fly Black Hawks.
This is what I'll say is, a Black Hawk costs considerably less money than like the M4.
Okay.
Right? So like the M4 probably cost the Army maybe $2,000.
Okay.
What do you think a Black Hawk costs?
Oh.
A couple million?
Easily.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume millions.
So I've seen guys like not able to leave the field for like 4 days. Like they're 4 days past the time that they were supposed to leave because they can't find a weapon.
That was assigned to them that
lost.
Could have been.
Yeah, so like you have to keep them out there, and then even if you lose a weapon downrange, if like you're found without your weapon downrange, like you're subject to an Article 15. You're subject to being punished because you don't have your weapon. You don't have positive control over like it's not locked up,
right?
And it's not on you.
Right.
So you fucked up.
So this is like the government's M4 lost in the field.
So this is like a general like lost control of like all this shit.
Right.
And it's just like okay. Well, we're just
and this all rolls up to one general?
Bro, so in order to say that like the CENTCOM commander is ultimately responsible for every piece of equipment left in Afghanistan would technically be true.
Okay.
But it's an absurd statement to make.
Sure.
The man can't be everywhere. He has to delegate tasks.
Correct. But ultimately, he's still responsible for those people delegating, right?
He ultimately, yes. Ultimately, he has ultimate responsibility.
Yeah.
Of which, if you paid attention to the drone strike that killed the U.S. aid worker and his kids.
Yeah.
Like, so that is, to me, that's more of the atrocious. That's more atrocious than.
That's more of a fuck up than I think anything else that's happened.
So like that required that dude to say yes.
Correct.
Like he had to consensually go along with that.
Right.
Whereas losing Blackhawks and Humvees and small arms, what is he going to do? Is he going to go rally?
He's not going to actually go get them
and go get them.
Right.
Like you expect him to do that? He's not going to. One, there's other options to him. You could call in air support and blow
Correct.
It all
you could
up,
blow them all up.
Whatever. I mean, generally that's what we do with ordnance that we find. If we find ordnance that isn't ours, we put it in a big, pile, and we
blow
pay
it
an
up.
18-year-old kid to go and watch like a big, explosion.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That drone strike, I was actually thinking about that too, but I don't want to keep you too long. You got to go. It's funny. It's not funny.
You want to pause here, and then we'll just are this on?
No, we'll wrap it over this. Okay. So it's just my thought. Like I think where you look at it and you say, all right, pulling out was a mess. It could have been a mess under anybody. It could have been, right? There's a lot of shit that could have happened.
This is what I'll ask you. show me one military pullout that wasn't a shit show.
I don't know of one.
Okay.
I honestly don't know of one.
I don't know if it can be done. Can you physically exit yourself from a position that you hold on the ground in a risk-free environment?
I don't think so.
Especially since you've been at war for 20 years.
Yeah, I don't think so.
20 years of developing assets, of getting people to help.
I do think that Intel would have told you better that the whole thing was going to crumble and fall apart. Like that was. Do
you think that
days.
The president is getting the correct information?
No, and I'm not saying this is the president. I'm saying there's multiple levels of accountability for all of this, right? Like you said, the licks. There's a lot of people that should be getting licks, big, small, insignificant ones, formal ones, right? Just because they have to. That is somewhat acceptable. The drone strike to me was just reckless.
The drone strike to me was it seemed desperate.
Okay. It seemed like this is something that could have happened before the internet and them saying we retaliated. Look, here's proof there was a strike. You get what I'm trying to say? And it's like, do you guys forget that we know everything now, or we're capable of finding everything out? Like, you attacked innocent people, most likely knowing they were innocent people.
So, okay, but you also look at some of the shit that we've done in places like Yemen.
Yeah.
Where we've blown up weddings. We've done a drone strike on a wedding.
Yep.
Just to get one guy.
Just to get one or two guys.
Just to get the one. And now, can a person within their heart of hearts say, yes, I'll make that trade? Like, yes, I'm willing to live with the, souls of, say 30 innocent. He may not even see those guys as innocent people. More like
That's true.
People that haven't joined the cause yet.
Yeah.
Like they're like that could be.
Or how do you know that they weren't?
Yeah, that could be their recruiting pool. Plus, if you have one or two top guys, you're probably going to get 3 or 4.
You do what you can.
So if you get like 1 or 2 top guys, you're generally going to get 3 or 4 middle guys, a couple,
There's a couple people.
There's not, so you don't have Adolf Hitler and Stalin
alone, dead to rights,
in a room with 30 Mother Teresa's.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody there's bad too.
Like the company that you keep is the company that you keep.
Yeah, I get you.
So can that guy say, well, even though they're not targets, the world would be better off if they weren't here?
Yeah.
He could probably. Would I say that?
I would say the world would be better off without them there. You just have to. What trade off are you making? Like, what innocents have to go in order to get rid of Adolf? Which leads me to the last thing I'll say, and then you can say whatever you want. If that is true, and how people think, and how they're willing to do a retaliatory drone strike and kill innocents, why didn't they kill Bin Laden when they had a chance? Or you get what I'm trying to say? Because the trade-off.
That is something that since I've come to find out that like early in the war, we had opportunities to kill him.
The
Taliban was on their heels.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to just say, "Yo, we'll give you him.
Mm-hmm.
This is where he is."
Oh, they essentially gave him to us.
They gave him to us. They're like, "Yo, this is where he is."
Yep.
They're like, "Just like we'll call it quits.
Yep.
Like you just take him. We'll call it done." Okay.
Yep.
That's a fair trade. I think that if that information had made it to the public would have said yes.
Oh, today I don't see that happening the same way.
What do you mean?
Meaning, like, I don't see them not taking him out under those circumstances, because if we knew about it the way we know about so much now, like someone's gonna let us know that trade was on the table 2 weeks ago. You get what I'm trying to say? Whereas, like, we didn't hear about that until years down the road.
But I think something like I mean, the government is able to keep secrets.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they just tell less people.
Like, yeah. So do I think that a deal like that, like, do I think that the Taliban could have came to America and be like, yeah, like, we're done. Like, this is where he's at. And we say no. we want the whole, like we want to. At what point did the narrative change from we have to get Al Qaeda to we now have to spread democracy
Correct.
to Afghanistan?
Correct. If we take him out now, it's over and we leave and we didn't spread democracy.
But so okay, so what's the benefit to stay? What's on the plus side? Money.
Yeah, always money.
I mean, how much money did we spend on this thing? Over 20 years. Over 20
trillions.
years. How much money did we spend on this thing?
It's in the trillions, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
It's in the trillions. Do you ever listen to Jocko Willink podcast?
No.
I'm gonna send it to you. Just one episode, and I think it was called like The Business of War, and literally broke down
Contractors.
But he tried to be so removed from this so that it wasn't like hurting anybody.
Yeah.
That he's talking about World War II, and literally just talked about like how some 20 million mosquito nets were sold to the U.S. government to protect them from malaria in France. Not one of them made it into a pack.
Wow.
Like little things like that. And if you break down the cost of like who made money and why, you know, and you look at it and you're like, holy shit. Like companies go from like $1 million in revenue to like $100 million in revenue just because of the war.
Yeah.
And it's like, so who's driving it and who's just benefiting from it? Because if I made something that everybody could benefit from and you happen to want to buy it from me, I think it's good. But if I'm pushing the mosquito nets because, you know, you're going to need them, but you're not.
Well, there's always been a fundamental truth that war is good for the economy.
Sure.
When there's blood in the streets,
sure.
Buy.
And I think they feel like we've been in this war so long that it doesn't feel like war anymore, that we need to get out and have a new one.
So that I would say is true, is that it didn't feel like a war. It just felt
like normal everyday life.
Yeah, just
you know,
we had become numb
to that,
to the idea of like we have active, you know, and like a lot of people want to say like, well, you know, a U.S. service member hasn't died there in, you know, 18 months or you know, however long it was. Well, yeah, like we had a peace agreement.
Yeah,
we signed a peace deal.
Yeah,
you know, the Doha, you know, Accords. So
essentially wasn't a war zone at that point.
No,
you know?
So at that point we stepped back from becoming armed combatants to we're now just advising and assisting the Afghans.
Peacekeepers.
Yeah. You know.
So it's nuts, man. It's nuts.
It'll take an entirely new generation to dissect what we did and why we did it.
Sure, like the way we look at Vietnam now. Yeah, I agree with you, and I feel like going into this Cold War with China is their new.
Well, we did the same thing. We never learn lessons.
We don't.
We never. So, okay. So yeah, you see the actual progression from World War II to a Cold War, to a hot war, to a Cold War. It's
the same cycle. It's the same cycle, and it's money, and nobody wants to get in it, and everybody's devastated about it, and there's casualties, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of fucking money to be made. It's ridiculous, but
over something that's fake.
Over something that's essentially fake.
Fake.
Yeah. Dude, they're whatever. Yeah. All right, everybody.
Bye, man.
You guys have a good night. Scuba, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, man.
I really, really appreciate it, bud.
Yeah, man.
All right. Did you say Yemen?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, man.